Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very, very encouraged by the talks of my previous speakers. I don't claim to be an expert like them, but Dr. Khalid mentioned something very, very dramatic about water being recycled, and I was given a glass of water to drink, and I was wondering if that was something he had a shower in. It tasted very, very good. Secondly, Mark, I'm very encouraged by Mark. Following the Paris conference, he has enlightened us about a lot of positive things that are happening. I am very, very optimistic. Unlike many, many environmentalists who are pessimistic that the world is going to end, this is not going to end. This is good news. We haven't got long to go, but it's going to be very, very good news. All these renewable energies that are coming in very, very fast. It's one thing I note that apart from myself, there are very few young people here. I came into this country, I'm giving my age away now, born in 1952, I came in to this country in 1963, and how have attitudes changed in this country? Do you remember someone who is my age, around about 63, 64, when the milkman used to come around on the Friday or Saturday, we used to leave the money outside. The milkman used to take the money, right, and leave the change. And there are other people who used to come and go. The paper boy used to come, the other people used to come. No one touched that money. And if we were not at home when the electricity or the gas man came to look at the meters, he would just go around the back, open the door, which was never locked, take the readings from inside the house, go out without any problems whatsoever. So this is what the attitudes have changed. So I have been asked by Footsteps to talk about the faith communities in Birmingham can do to create a low carbon future. I will speak in general as well as from the perspective of the Sikh faith. Because I think this is what I was asked, to what our particular community is doing for Birmingham. I thank Footsteps for inviting me to the Holy Quaker Meeting House to share my views with you all. I'm part of a local Sikh place of worship in Soho Road, Handsworth, Birmingham, called a Gurdwara, and run by an organization called Guru Nanak Nishkam Centre, which was founded by a very holy man called Sukhbir Singh and his successor Paisa Pai Narang Singh, and whose present chairman is Paisa Pai Mohinder Singh. I am sure many of you have visited the Sikh Gurdwara and seen for yourselves the warm hospitality that you receive. The present generation is facing a huge challenges. The challenge of climate change, the challenge of poverty, food and clean water, also the challenge of terrorism. We have to find solutions for the problems faced by women, youth and children also. Today we are discussing one of the greatest challenges facing humanity, how to deal with the consequences of climate change, and in particular how we can make a change within our own faith communities and how we can work collectively to bring about a low carbon future. We are required to share this responsibility. This requires us all learning to live together. This is about understanding what makes us all different as well as what unites us. This is about reaching out to people of all backgrounds and in all areas of the city. The age of fossil fuels is coming to an end. Easily accessible supplies are already running out, and over the next few years, this leaves us with two options: continue to pollute the planet or change direction and embrace a clean energy future. I would like to look at this in two sections. Firstly, how does a person of the Sikh faith deal with the challenge of creating a low carbon future? And secondly, what contribution does the local Gurdwara in Birmingham, in Soho Road, make to Birmingham? The Sikh faith was founded over 500 years ago by Guru Nanak. He brought a revolution in spiritual thinking. At that time, the Indian subcontinent was buried in religious dogma and baseless ritual. A baptized Sikh at a young age, Guru Nanak undertook 4 great journeys lasting 29 years. taking him to the east as far as China, west to Mecca, north to Tibet, and as far south as Sri Lanka. Guru Nanak gave new thinking. The background I'm sharing with you is quite relevant to the topic of today. Guru Nanak gave new thinking and good practice everywhere he went. Guru Nanak's thoughts and views were written in the form of scripture and were added to the writings of 5 of the Gurus that followed him. And thus the Holy Scriptures came into being, and we call these scriptures Guru Granth Sahib. The Holy Scripture also contains the writings of Muslims. That would be very, very surprising to many people. The Sikh scripture contains the writing of Muslims and Hindus as well. So inherently, the Sikh people will not discriminate against anybody. This proved that recognizing spirituality in a person was higher than finding out which religion a person belonged to. A baptized Sikh will not cut his hair, will not eat meat, fish or eggs. He will not drink alcohol, neither will he smoke or take drugs. He is not allowed premarital or extramarital relationships. All these observances make a Sikh a good citizen of high moral character. All these practices make a person more able to live with his neighbors and thus create a more cohesive environment. Through his teachings, Guru Nanak explained that the world we humans create around ourselves is a reflection of our own inner state. So as we look around to our wasteful and polluting practices, we obtain an insight into the chaos within us. When the 10th Master, Guru Gobind Singh, formally founded the Sikh faith in 1699, he advised Sikhs to challenge any force that threatened the well-being of others. He made us warriors with a responsibility to protect the vulnerable. Today, the earth is vulnerable because of climate change and because people have not protected their environments. Today, it is time to act and show that we are true warriors. We must make amends with the earth. Our scripture states, the air is the Guru. This is giving reverence to the environment. The air we must treat as our Guru. Water is our father. And the earth is our mother. This is a part of the scripture which every Sikh reads every single morning. So the air is the Guru, water is our father, and earth is our mother, thus placing high reverence to the environment. Our Mother Earth has gone through undeniable changes at the hands of humans. It is abundantly clear that our action has caused great damage to the atmosphere and is projected to cause even more damage if left unhandled. Since 1980, the average temperature of the Earth's surface has increased drastically. Glaciers and Arctic ice are melting, the sea levels are rising, threatening plant and animal species and hurting the poor people of the world. As Sikhs, we appeal to lawmakers, faith leaders, and citizens of the world to take concrete action toward reducing carbon emissions and protecting the environment. And as Sikhs, we pledge to take concrete actions ourselves. We have a responsibility to follow our Guru's teachings and protect the vulnerable. As per Guru Nanak's teachings, we are required to change the thinking and mindsets of all. A gentleman mentioned the case about obesity. Obesity can be treated in a number of ways. Obesity leads to many, many problems like blood pressure, diabetes, etc., etc. There are 4 ways of treating these problems. First of all, you can take them to a doctor, he'll prescribe a medicine. So if you've got these problems, you're not doing anything about it from the base. You're just taking these medicines. Secondly, you can say, okay, these problems stem from obesity. Let me do something about that. So the second thing you can do, cut down on a bit of food, do a bit of exercise. Third, the final thing you can do is look at the whole mindset, the whole attitude towards eating. So what Guru Nanak said is let's not look too much into the problems of today. Let's look what is the human beings, because the whole world is created from the individual mindset. How do we change the individual mindset so these problems do not occur in the first place? What part does the local Gurdwara play in the Midlands area? The Gurdwara has an open door policy welcoming thousands of people of all backgrounds every week. It is our spiritual center where meditation, prayers and reading of the scriptures have been done day and night continuously for the past 39 years. Over 30,000 free vegetarian meals are cooked and served by volunteers every week. The figure goes to over 50,000 meals per week during our annual functions. Every Gurdwara in the world serves free vegetarian foods. Everyone has heard of the Golden Temple. At the Golden Temple, every single day they serve over 100,000 free vegetarian meals. That figure goes to 200,000 during festival. It is a huge logistical task that is undertaken there. Now, this is something, what I'm going to talk about now, something practical that you and me can start doing from today. It might pose a few challenges in everybody, but that is my intention, to give you a few challenges. We can start today on this. The basis for the vegetarian diet is primarily compassion, yeah, for all beings. This is the basis of dharma or religion. Sikhs believe that a person cannot practice religion unless first he practices compassion, and this necessarily requires one to become vegetarian. I now refer you to a sheet, if that can be given out, which I will go through. This compares the equivalent amount of CO2 emissions compared with 1 kilo of different types of food. So the food we are comparing is, if you eat 1 kilo of beef, 1 kilo of vegetables, how does that reflect in CO2 emissions? And is there something we can do about that today? Let us see what these figures state. If you look at right at the bottom of the top table, number 16, it mentions lentils, which is the staple food in India. Lentils and rice is higher up the list. Now, 1 kilo of, if you make 1 kilograms of lentils, that creates 0.9 kilograms of CO2 emissions. If you go right to the top, so people who love to eat lamb, and I'm not just vegetarian, I'm a vegetarian by choice. At a young age, I used to eat meat. I used to love lamb. So lamb, if one producing 1 kilograms of lamb, right, produces 39.2 kilograms of CO2 emissions. Now, if you look at the table and anything in between, look at number 13, vegetables. I'm a vegetarian. For those people who are vegetarians, for every 1 kilogram of vegetables that they eat, they're producing 2 kilograms of CO2 emissions. Now, from this table, my challenge to myself and to everybody is to see what we had this morning, what we're going to have this afternoon, what we're going to have this evening, and what we're going to feed our family. Are we contributing? Are we contributing to CO2 emissions excessively? This is a question I leave as a challenge to you to think. Livestock farming produces, now this is we're talking about certain habits which are creating, like, it also mentioned car fumes and all that. That is very small compared to livestock farming. Mm-hmm. For God's sake, not many people are talking about this, because if people are concerned about what they are going to eat because it's tasty. Livestock farming produces from 20 to 50% of all man-made greenhouse gas emissions. Now, isn't that significant? That's a huge amount. Also, on the bottom of the sheet, there's a table called Shrink That Footprints chart, shows that a meat lover has the highest carbon footprint at 3.3 tons of greenhouse gas emissions. A vegetarian diet has a much lower carbon footprint of just not just 1 point, it's quite a lot, 1.7 tons, which is about half that of a meat lover's diet. You can reduce your footprint by a quarter just by cutting down on red meat such as beef and lamb. It's good for the animals too.
but not for the business.
People say, what do we do with all the turkeys at Christmas? Oh, that is, they are reared and they're bred just for the Christmas table. If there was no turkey demand during Christmas, then those turkeys would not be born in the first place. So it's very good for, most animals are raised in factory farms where they live in horrific conditions. I just want you to go to the internet, just look at how the animals at the abattoirs are run. You will be shocked. And I'm sure a large percentage will stop eating meat from today. Right? Factory farms are heavy polluters of the air and ground. The meat they produce is also polluted with superbugs. Millions of people get sick from eating dirty meat. It is good for you too. Being vegetarian is good for you too. It's been proved that vegetarians live longer than meat eaters. Vegetarians are slimmer. Don't look at me. I'm doing something about it. Vegetarians are, look at Ajit, his vegetarians are slimmer than meat eaters. Vegetarians have a lower risk of getting heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes and cancer. 70% of the deforestation, you know, all the forests that have been cut down in the Amazon, is to provide land for cattle ranches. If there was no demand for beef, then that would not happen. British households throw out a third of the food that they buy. What a waste. A vegetarian diet requires about half the water to produce compared to meat-based diet. It also makes sense to reduce our personal water consumption by practicing water conservation in our day-to-day life. So I won't keep you long, as I only got a little bit, and as Henry VIII told his wife, I won't keep you long. So I'm going to cut short part of my lecture. Another example of changing mindsets. I would like to share something for the next 1 minute that has happened in Rwanda in East Africa. Right? After taking office in 2000, President Paul Kagame, who's still the president now, started a policy called Umuganda. Very, very interesting policy he started to help clean up his unclean capital, Kigali, as well as to promote the idea of a cohesive national identity through communal projects. Under Kagame, Umuganda, this is a policy, was formalized as a collective event. What happened in Umuganda? On the last Saturday in each month, traffic including airport taxis is stopped for 3 hours in the morning, and the city comes together to tidy up. The whole population starts tidying up every part of Rwanda. This day is called Umunsi wa Umuganda, which is contribution made by the community, and even the president comes out on the last Saturday of each month to start cleaning up his household, whatever, right? And all able-bodied people between the ages of 18 and 65 are required by law to participate. This has made Kigali one of the cleanest cities in the world, and definitely the cleanest city in Africa. The knock-on effect of such conscientious cleaning up is, of course, that people are less inclined to drop litter in the first place, thus reducing their carbon footprint. Can we do collectively something like this from Birmingham? Can we ask the local council to take this sort of step? Let us all campaign, all faith communities and people who are without faith, we can let us campaign together. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you very much indeed, Sukhbir, who reminds me that, of course, it's equally as interesting to have your views as well as having your questions. So, who would like to respond to this with either comments or questions? Yeah, okay, we're having. Yes, jumping up. Okay.
Hello. It is the mindsets, as you say, of people. It's difficult. It's the mindsets of people. If you can get them to alter their mindsets, for instance, they get stuck in the jobs in certain professions. Like somebody I approached trying to get a signature the other day, said he was in coal. And I was trying to get him to sign for the Green Party, you see. And he said, well, I said, can't you get to renewable, clean coal? And he shook his head. He said, I'm not voting for Green, he said. And he's getting the mindsets to change and people to change.
Yes, thank you very much. Sukhbir.
Yes, I think the mindset can change very, very quickly. Supposing, taking again the example of a person who's got diabetes, if the doctor tells him, look, unless you do something about it, next week your leg is coming off, I think his mindset will change. Right? This is happening, if you look at the environment, this is happening. Our leg is going to come off, something is going to happen, we're going to die. All these scare stories, a lot of them are true. And how can we change the mindset? We have to bring these environment, all what Dr. Khaled Mark said, we have to bring this into the school curriculum because it is for the good of the children that are being educated now. And I would say bring it right into, I've got a granddaughter who's 6 years old and she's been made the monitor of her year at the Nishkam primary school. And she said, oh, she called me, the grandfather is Nanaji. We're working on a project. I said, what project are you working on? Oh, we're going to help the people without food to get them food. Now, I don't want to go into too much into what she is doing, but to engage the children at that age, can you imagine how much they'll be learning, how much they'll be looking after their own generation, and a lot of the work will be done through education. So we have to get these local councils to bring these ideas into the local curriculum. So it is not something that is they have to go to the internet to learn. It is something that they will already know and they will share with their own children.
Thank you very much. Yes, education is becoming a bit of a theme and changing of minds, isn't it? John, let's hear from you.
Can I just make a point, and it's perhaps a point referring back to a previous discussion, and this is a question about money. Okay, it is a technical problem, but it's been faced at other times, including during wars, and it's been solved. I mean, you can, if you want to do green things, if you're the government, you can give people money to do certain things, or you can give them vouchers which can only be used for certain green things. Or, if you're going to allow the creation of money to be done by banks, you can make it a condition of a bank having a license that it's got to lend a certain portion of its money to green things. The government may not want to do it, the electorate may not want it to happen, but it's perfectly easy for it to happen.
Yeah, Mark.
Do you want to respond?
Mark will answer that.
No. I think the basic question is the nature of money. How do you put it into context? In a sense, money doesn't exist. It's nothing. It's a debt. This society, the structure we live in, will not exist without debt. The whole thing is about debt. This society, the civilization, functions on debt. When we talk about distributing money to certain projects here and there, we're talking about creating more debt. The fact of the matter is, if that debt, if the money system didn't exist in the way that we have created, there'd be no money. That's the way to look at it. So let's be careful when we talk about money. You see, because it doesn't really exist. If you look at the aspect of QE, meaning quantitative easing, that in fact was a strong against that. It sort of made people to open their eyes. Right, this is what it's about. But QE is a new phrase, a new definition of it, but it had existed ever since the Bank of England was created in 1692. That's it.
Thank you. Yes, did you want to come back on that, John? You're an economist, I just wondered if you or
what you say is perfectly true. I was really suggesting that even under the present system, there are things that can be done if people want to do it. But I agree with you, the present
Thank you. Matthew?
To follow on from that point slightly, one of the challenges that's been made both before Paris and after Paris, particularly by Naomi Klein, who's written a lot on this, is the fact that when we have deals on climate, and Paris was a moment of hope, those deals are always trumped, and that might be an interesting expression to use at the moment. They're always trumped by the trade deals, by the WTO, by TTIP if it comes in.
Yeah.
So what it means is, what John was suggesting, government and local government have taken steps to do that, to try and incentivise and force people to make economic decisions towards the better for the climate, better for the world. They've been squashed at an international level by the lobby for free trade. So I think that's something we have to take into account in all of these discussions, that what we can do as a local level is limited by contracts that are signed at an international level, and I think this is where the question of the EU comes in. There's a lack of, I am pro staying in the EU by the way, but I think there's a problem in that these deals are signed and then removed from any kind of democratic accountability. How do we dismantle them? How do we change them? There's no obvious answer to that.
I'm just going to take one last question because we're running out of time for the lady in here, and if we do choose together.
I'm somewhat intrigued that none of you have talked about populations that in the last century, I don't have the figures at the top of my head, but I think the population not doubled 9 times, and that is a reality.
Yes.
It's a very important dimension. And who want Sukhbir, this is essentially, do you want to respond? Or do you want to pass it around? Pass it around you.
I don't believe that the population is a problem. The problem is greed. Because I've come from a maths background, we worked out that there's an island near Southend, which is very, very small. They calculated that, sorry, which? I don't know, they're not, what's it called? Anyway, I won't take time on thinking about that one. The whole world population could stand there if they had like just 1 yard each. That is not the problem. The problem is the good Lord gave us enough food, but He didn't take greed into account. That is the problem. that is the problem. And I found there's so much. I mean, I've traveled to London, so many places. Look at the green spaces around the world. I've been blessed by being halfway around the world. There's so much place there. That is not the population is not a problem. That is my view. Maybe Dr. Khalid can give us a different perspective.
Well, I think how you manage the planet is important, because we're able to produce enough food, if that is what's about for 7 billion people on the planet, because of technology, because of intensive agriculture, because of highly polluting, what you call non-composting chemical agriculture, and it is damaging the planet. I talked about the Great Barrier Reef earlier on. One of the problems with that is that there's a lot of pollutants going into the northwest or northeast Australian coast, which is also polluting the Great Barrier Reef. So agriculture is a problem. But I would like to emphasize the point that you were making concerning the terms of trade and what's really happening in the business world, and also link it to what you were saying about when the Kyoto Protocol was introduced in 2005. The problem with Kyoto was it was a top-down thing. Yes. Now the problem with Paris 2001 is a bottom-up thing. I think that in itself is a problem because it enables the nation states to decide their own quantum of carbon dioxide that they're going to release or not release in the atmosphere. The problem with that is, the fact is that every nation state, every political system, every model is based on giving the maximum amount of goodies to people who put people into power. So it is based on growth. Simple word, is based on growth. And if you don't grow, you don't provide enough for the electorate who's put you into power. So what's going to happen is next time you're not going to get elected. So the growth model is wedded into the whole international structure. You're not going to get away from it. So now the first thing I did, I was in Paris. After I came back from the fight, the first thing I did was subscribe to the Wall Street Journal, because I wanted to find out what they were saying about Paris. And they were absolutely dismissive about Paris. They didn't want to know. So the fact is that there are two mindsets. You have one mindset, like the people here who are saying, we can grow, we got to be vegetarians, we got to consume less, and we got to tax the environment less. But then we have another mindset based on the World Bank, IMF, Wall Street, Threadneedle Street, and so on, was saying this is the capitalist model which is based on growth, and you cannot have a viable international business community doing businesses, supplying what the people want without growing. But the planet doesn't grow. Already we are living at the expense of 2.5 planets. You see? So who wants to grow? But this is what I'm rather pessimistic about.